Hey guys, it's Ren. This is the second video in the Lord of the Rings series. We've been starting here on the Arnor faction on the west side, and I wanted to just take through some tips. There was a number of questions for a number of new players, and figure this would be pretty useful for others coming into Lord of the Rings. There's some places in the interface that you may not be aware even exist. Some feedback was it was a complicated user interface. Once you get used to it, though, it's pretty handy. And so I'm going to walk you through for a few minutes. Then we have a bit of a bridge invasion in about 15 minutes, just to show you how that works. So people can get a little bit of familiarity. So what I've done here, I'll just go back for a sec. There's a map in the top left, and you can click on it. And on the right side of this, you can zoom in and out. And this is basically your game map. And the little green castle in the top left there, right about here, that's where I am. And you can press the go button to go in there sort of directly, so you can see my castle. Now, one of the really basic things about this game is that most people don't sort of naturally think about. You can take any tile that is connected to an ally or a faction member within range. So you don't have to go sort of tile by tile by tile. I could just pick this tile over here, and I could send a march to it. And that's a really important point to know if you're a new player in Lord of the Rings, because finding tiles that are about the right level for you, for experience and difficulty, is a big part of the initial game. And you want to drop your low-level tiles and take higher-level tiles. So sort of the highest normal level tile you can take is a tier 9. You start with level 1s, and the type of tile and the level of it is sort of how built up it is. So this is a level 2 iron tile. This is a level 4 iron tile. This is a level 6. And so iron tiles actually go up every 2. There's no level 3 iron tile. There's no level 5. There's 2, 4, 6, and 8. And it's sort of the same with the stone tiles. So this is a level 9. It's the most built up. Second is this one, which is a level 7. This is a level 3. And somewhere around here is a level 5. There we go. There's a level 5 tile. And you can see that for the trees, the more built up it is. This is a 7, this is a 5, and then the bigger ones, that's a 9 over here. And the really light ones are a 3. So the food tiles are a little bit not so obvious. Very, very minimal buildup is 2. Then it's 4. You look for a couple trees. Here we go. There's a 6. And then a more built-up one that has a pool in it is the 8. And so you're first starting from your castle. You're going to grab yourself a bunch of level 1 tiles and then some level 2s, and you try to get your heroes to get stronger and stronger, both their levels and their armies, to take the strongest tiles you can, and that gives you your ring power, which is pretty much how you evolve your character's maximum number of tiles and your skills and abilities. So this ring power here in the top, and if you click on it, it'll tell you what you're getting. Now we're just a few days into the server, so I'm at 22,280. That's not bad. I've maximized all my tiles. Just to the right of this income of the power production is your tiles. Most people don't realize that you can actually click on this, and then you can see all the tiles in your empire. So I've been spending the last few days leveling up tiles, dropping lower level tiles, and pretty much everything now is a level 8, 9, or above tile. And the really neat thing is you can go directly from here, find your tiles, you can drop your tiles. It sorts them by power. So these are all my 130 power tiles. These are up above all the 150s. If I had lower level tiles, I can find them. And there's another button at the top left here, which is the search. Now this is really cool too. So let's say I just wanted to see lower level tiles. You can unselect all of these, and now it shows me just the list of the 130s. So that filter is actually pretty convenient. Or if I just say, where's all my forts? I just want to look at my forts. I don't want to look at anything else. Now, here's one of my forts, and we're going to have a bit of a battle here at the crossing soon to take this crossing and then start working our way to the east. Now, another thing that players are not always so familiar with is how the forts work. And this is after a few days you get into it and you're expanding your territory, you're going to want to go pretty far. And a fort basically has a range of 50 spaces. This is where it's actually handy to zoom in on the map here. And what you can see is there's the settlement I have, and I clicked on it, and I have a 50 space range for my settlement, and I can send marches anywhere in this space. But if I want to go further than that circle, I need to build a fort. And then I need to move a hero to that fort, and then they would be based in that fort, and then they would have a 50 square spaces around there. So right now I put some of my heroes on this far east side. Let's see, near the crossing. So this is where my 6th fort is. And then I have to move them there. It actually takes about 30 minutes to move them to this location. And then they're based out of there, and they can take tiles around 50 spaces around that location. And that's a really important mechanism to understand in this game. Now you have a limit of 10 forts. You can increase that by another 20 going into your ring with using the battle lines. So every point you put into battle lines, you can increase your fort limit by 2. And it does use a tile, so you don't get resources from that tile. That tile will go away. But that's how you basically expand your influence, and you can move marches to a fort and base them. Now what's kind of neat too is once you have a fort, you can just send from your home base to that fort and base them there. You don't need the chain, at least that's what I'm told. I need to test that a little bit later. But then you can destroy your forts in between, and you can just go base to fort direct. And we'll see if that's true. If not, I'm going to have to rebuild a whole bunch of forts. From a tips on what to focus on first as you're leveling up your ring, I'm a fond supporter of experience. I like how you max up your commander XP and you put points in here, and I think that increases your commander level quicker, which increases your army capacity quicker, increases your ability to take more tiles quicker, which sort of snowballs into a much stronger empire. That's a good thing to do. Another one that I really liked is the march speed. 10% march speed's kind of nice. So you get your guys out and they're doing things more productive. It cuts down the time and helps the game flow a little bit better. I really like stamina. It's nice to sleep and then you wake up in the morning and all your commanders have a 150 power or stamina instead of 120. So they can do another attack and they can recover for even a further one a little quicker. So that can help with expansion. That can help with different march actions. And then a really important one is this max ability points. Now, what was interesting in testing this is you will get all of your max ability points back in a 24-hour period. So if you max this up to 10, which gives you a maximum of 30, you'll get 30 ability points in a 24-hour period. It gives you an extra 10, basically, which means you could do an extra 2 mock battles or an extra 2 gathers. That could be 100,000 more resources or more a day. And so that's a really, really important one to get during your growth period. Now, if you get serious about war and you need a ton of forts, you could just hit this reset in the top right. I'm not going to do it, but you get a free reset every day, and you can respec your ring for what suits you. I do know some players work in this top left area, so if they're doing a lot of harvesting, or if you've saved up a lot of energy and you have other points, you could put them in the resource gathering, max this out before you blow it, and get some even more resources from using your ability points. And then you can also do some other things as well, which is increasing your production. So you could go deep into this chain and get another 5% on your production. So that's your pick. Typically I don't go down to the southwest, sort of bottom left here area. Sweeping's kind of interesting. Maybe there'll be some events. The conscription hiring time is pretty nice. Getting 10% higher for troops. I suspect I will use that when I'm in a building phase and trying to catch up on building up my barracks. So that's a pretty useful one as well. Okay, so we're about 4.5 minutes, roughly, from going to start the attack on the crossing. Some other things I did want to mention, though, is when you attack a tile, you can send multiple marches. And so if you are a newer player and you're building up your armies and you're trying to go through the quests and you want to take a tile, but it's just overwhelming for one particular march, then you can send 2, and that'll help you conquer it with some confidence. Usually when you hit an overwhelming, the first march that's going to hit it is going to take some significant losses. And so be it. There's some specializations you can do for your heroes. I'm showing my Gandalf here. He's got tier 3 troops, and I sort of maxed out some of his talents for healing. He's a pretty good hero to get early on, and he's a good, well-balanced hero. And you can see that now he's capable enough to take a tier 9 tile with very few losses. You know, he lost a handful of infantry and a handful of horses, but the sharpshooters finished off the enemy. It depends who you fight. There's some other battles with, this was a tier 10 tile. You can go back to it and you can see, so I took this tier 10 wood tile, and when I attacked this, I sent 3 marches, all with pretty strong commanders, to take that out. Okay, so some other things. You can click on your resources in the top left. You can see where the resources are coming in from. You get your land bonus, you get your structure bonus, and then the fellowship bonus is when you take these tier 10 tiles, or somebody in your faction does, you'll see to the right of the resource gathering, so it's 1,000 wood per hour, there's another one, which is basically the your faction resource gathering of 200, and that benefits everybody in the group, which is pretty nice. So if you get a few strong players, they can take some strong tiles, and then everybody shares the benefits. How nice is that? There's some other interesting tiles. Let's see here. This is an uncanny effigy. It's on my list of things to conquer pretty soon. It'll have 500 power per hour. Now, what you can notice here, though, is it has a siege rating, and that's 250,000. So you're going to need to hit it a number of times to knock down the siege rating, even after you defeated the armies. And this is about as strong as a typical tier 10 tile, but the typical tier 10 tile does not have a siege rating. And a siege rating is basically when you have an army. Let's go grab somebody here. What would be a good way to look at this? Here we go. So we're looking at my Gandalf army right now. And you can see to the right of the 49,965, there's a siege rating of 73,524. So depending how many of those soldiers actually survive taking it, I could keep hitting back this tile over time, and that would start hitting and sieging it and bringing down that defense. And so theoretically, I can probably solo this tile, which I'll do after we do our crossing event here in about a minute. Some other things that aren't so obvious is recruiting commanders. And what you typically want to do is put a lot of ale and you want to get a small number of really good commanders, generally. And in this case, I really like Dwalin. I like Dwalin because he has some really good healing skills. You work on this musician, and you work on level-headed, and you can work on relief, and that basically sustains your armies and reduces the losses. He has some really funky abilities to, when you max out Warrior of the Lonely Mountain, you get a massive burn damage reduction. He does some nice extra damage as a commander against large units, and his damage can even ignore the target's defense. Kind of sounds like a dragon or troll killer, you know, or at least he could do some damage. So for a tier 1 hero, I really like Dwalin. Haldir is a nice all-around hero, and I can probably see this in a better place as well. But the point here is you probably want to pick 1 or 2 heroes that you really like and make them strong. Some common picks are Haldir, Eowyn, or Dwalin on the sort of the man side and elf side. On the tier 2 side, Arwen's a really great healer. Gandalf you can get fairly early on, and if you're free to play, you can just keep pumping your gems into the season chest and eventually get Gandalf, and I think that's worth it. We like Legolas. A lot of people like Legolas. He's pretty strong as well for DPS, and you equip him up with a lot of archers. But we'll get into that a little bit later. Oh, here we go. So let's go help out here and take the crossing. All right. So what we're doing here is we're first going to kill the troops, and then we're going to siege it. And we have, you can see here, 857,000, and it's getting knocked down relatively quickly. So we want to beat the tar out of this. There we go. I think my good friend Roman's here probably already smashed it. Yeah, we're already knocking it down at a pretty good pace. Oh, where's my fourth? I think I actually have another dude here. Or is he waiting on his troops? 2 minutes and 40 seconds. I'm a little slow for my Elro here, dude. But you can see the yellow has come down from 1 million to 668,000. We have some more allies that are going in here. But basically, we have an hour to knock down the siege level of this location. I think we're well on pace for that right now. So let's just go send some more. I have 4 guys based here, but my last one's being reinforced. That actually raises a good point, because a lot of players don't realize that you can actually just do a reinforce in the field. It's this yellow button here. You can even drag and change your troops. You have to have one of the same, and then you just hit the check mark, and it will reconfigure your armies in the field. You do not have to send them home, and that's pretty nice, frankly. Here we go, 390. So this guy's coming down. So this is a good little practice one where we just want to take the crossing. I was dropping 2 forts, so I freed up some tiles so I can do a little bit of working. I actually don't want this, but we'll see who wins it. Alright, so while that's going, trying to think what else that might be interesting to the group. Oh, there's one other thing you can do, which is pretty convenient, and I'll do that after the battle here, just to show. But you can drop troops from a hero in the field immediately, and then they're available for another hero, and you can kind of reinforce a hero remotely. So I'll show you what that looks like in a little bit. The Dwarven Infantry are one of the better siege units, so once the troops are defeated, you just have to siege it down, and it's not a bad idea to have an army with a lot of Dwarven Infantry who can follow up in and then just burn it down. Right now we have a ton of firepower, even with the few people that are on right now, and so I don't think we're going to have too much trouble here. It's just about done. Did it. Excellent. It is owned by us. Oh, that's kind of nifty. Faction occupied. Cool. And under protection. Alright, so next. No defenders. Well, no player defenders, I should say. We'll have to knock these down. I kind of like the war music. It's one thing I like about Lord of the Rings is the music and the story and the characters are very, very well done. Alright, so let me show you sort of, let's see, what armies do I have? Does anybody have anything interesting besides? So there's eagles. Alright. Well, let me do something with Eomer. I'm going to show a couple things here. First I'm going to add troops to him, and then I'm going to show how you dismiss them in the field and they become available to anyone. So he's pretty close to my HQ. We're going to throw in some random troops. It's about 25 seconds. He's a classic cavalry hero, so this is not exactly the preferred troops you would typically use with Eomer. Eomer. I'm probably mangling it, huh? Right, meanwhile, these guys are still about 30 seconds out. Okay, so let's say this Eomer was fully maxed out with troops, but you wanted to give those troops to another hero. Then you can use the gold hands. You can literally just X them, hit OK, and they're immediately back at the settlement. And that's kind of a neat trick. So let's say I now wanted it to give it to Haldir. Hey, Haldir. And there they go. You know, they're immediately here. And you can put them in. So if you have 2 or 3 armies that have half troops and they're all over the field, then it's a good idea actually to consolidate to one hero and max them out instead of have a lot of weak armies if you're waiting for troops. Just something to keep in mind. Okay, so we actually had some good fighting there. Oh, or just sieging. Oh, he finished off the last few. It's kind of a nice experience though. So my Dwellin, just to show you, I got a point for him. So right now I'm focusing on Musician. I've been working on his Warrior of the Mountain because I want to get the burn damage reduction, and the physical damage received is pretty nice. So that's a pretty nice one. So we're about 5 levels away from maxing out that skill and getting the nice burn damage reduction. Alright. These 4 guys are coming back. The crossing is just about at half. We're only a few minutes in, so that's not bad. It's a good start. I think we're going to be on track here. No problem. So the key thing is to get a fort out here. One other tip is create a march that has eagles. And what you can see is the eagles will fly really, really quickly. So, for example, Merry and Pippin. A lot of people get Merry and Pippin. And the eagles are a very fast unit. So if I wanted to, say, move them here, you can see in the lower right here, it's about 1 minute and 8 seconds to go there. If I was using ground troops, it's 4:05, so it's about, 25% the time. Eomer, who's somewhat close, 5:44. So those eagles rock for moving. And if you're able to just take a tier 1 tile, and you don't even need a lot of eagles. I only have 10 left. I wish I didn't kill 5 of them off, but it's a great way to go send out, say, hobbits on eagles and set up forts, and then you can travel really quickly. It builds a supply line very quickly. Also pretty handy if you have to go far from your HQ to a high-level RSS tile, resource tile. Then equip Merry and Pippin with some resource gathering, boosting items, keep them with eagles, and it'll just go a bit faster and smoother. Okay, so let's continue the siege, if you will. I haven't really tried out this new hero yet, this Elro here. He was just launched a couple days ago. So I'm going to go play around with him a little bit later. It's not bad, though. He seems to have sort of a combination of Haldir and Arwen type skills. Oh, I guess I'm going to have to finish this soon. Okay, so right now I'm working on his healing skills so that he does a couple things. So the first one is increasing damage. And when you max this out, it'll gradually reduce over 4 rounds. So he starts hitting hard with the units, which is nice. Then he has a couple healing skills, which run every 2 rounds. It looks like a pretty nice heal to your tank unit. And that could be really strong, so I want to see how that performs in the battle. And then for allied units, which looks like all allied units, every 2 rounds he removes a debuff and also heals everybody. So these skills, Relief and Level-Headed, look really, really good. There's also Grey Company, and Reinforcement does some healing as well, which is more of a longer-term skill, so that's round 7 onwards, so that's later into the battle. So I'm putting that as a second priority. And then Flanking would prioritize ranged units, where he's attacking ranged units and doing damage. That sounds pretty nice to reducing enemy DPS. And minimum damage increased to 150% of base. Looks like he could hit really really strong, but we need to see how this scales up as it levels. So those are pretty interesting skills. Then there's Half-Elven. Interesting that the army would have a chance to cause maximum damage. That's kind of nice. There's some buffs, which I guess this will scale up. Either they do more damage or receive less damage. That's interesting. And then this one is additional damage for each unit present, and that will scale up as well. So that could be pretty strong if you have a lot of friendly allies. And then on top of that, ranged units. So maybe one tank unit, a couple of ranged units would be really strong. This one's kind of interesting too, where if you get madness, then your units don't get hurt as much. So we'll have to see how that works out. So how are we doing here? Yeah, it's down to 140,000, so we're smacking it pretty good. Okay, well, I'll end the video for now. Just wanted to show a few things, a few tips. Thank you, Romans and Meow, for sharing a lot of good information. And I'll periodically share a video as we're progressing. Have fun in the game. Bye.